Hey guys, so comments maybe kind of made me think about a whole lot of things. Mainly Ganondorf because this whole Ganondorf makes no sense. I'm thinking about it. Are there two Ganondorfs like at the same time? Because the Tears of the Kingdom, the what we see in the past, takes place apparently in the Prosperous era, which is shortly after Skyward Sword. But Ganondorf's already an adult then. Like we don't know how old he is, but he's an adult. Then he gets sealed up, but then in Ocarina of Time, there's another Ganondorf. And we know it's a different Ganondorf because Ganondorf is sealed under the castle. Like the events of Ocarina of Time have happened, pretty much told like 10,000 years in the past in Breath of the Wild. So Breath of the Tears of the Kingdom Ganondorf sealed up during the Prosperous era, where he's still sealed into 10, 20,000, however many years in the future. Ocarina of Time Ganondorf is around. So there's two Ganondorfs at the same time. It would have to be two different Ganondorfs because how can he be sealed up in the past and stay under the castle until the very distant future, which is far past Ocarina of Time? But he's also in Ocarina of Time. Now that Ganondorf, we know there's three of him. It's the same Ganondorf though. We see him in Ocarina of Time. The child timeline, it's in Twilight Princess. Adult timeline, Wind Waker. It's the same Ganondorf with different outcomes. Um, and then even after Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf is defeated. The Ganondorf from the past is still sealed, or at least not sealed, but held in place by Rauru. Uh, See, this whole Ganondorf thing makes no sense. It has to be multiple Ganondorfs existing simultaneously in the same world. You would think that one has to die before another is born, but apparently that's not the case. Uh so wait, we know that Twinrova is the surrogate mothers of Ganondorf. Twinrova in Ocarina of Time, they're stated to be like 400 years old. If they are his surrogate mothers, he is obviously younger than 400 years old. I don't think he was born during Prosperous era or before that, because that wouldn't imply that from Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword Ocarina of Time was only like a couple hundred years, because it would have Twinrova's 400. Uh, so Twinrova's age is a big indicator because it shows us they can't be the same Ganondorf. Because again, and the biggest fact is that again, Ganondorf was sealed in the past. So he final battle happens, Bauru seals him, and into the far future where Breath of the Wild takes place and Tears of the Kingdom, he's still sealed, which happens long after Ocarina of Time because we see places in Breath of the Wild from Ocarina of Time, the Temple of Time, Hyrule Castle Town, Lon Lon Ranch. We see all of them, so we know that Ocarina of Time has already happened. We see Lon Lon Ranch. Everything is exactly where we see where the horses are. We see the silo. We see where Malon's house was. We see all of that. It's exactly how it was in Ocarina of Time. So Ocarina of Time has already happened. And Ganondorf is sealed under Hyrule Castle, which means there's two Ganondorfs. So it means that one Ganondorf doesn't have to die before another one is born, which is just completely odd. Shouldn't shouldn't one Ganondorf die if they are the embodiment and not reincarnation, but of Demise's hatred and all that. Of course, they could be trying to retcon that too. Shouldn't one have to die before another rises up? So this Ganondorf thing is just, if Nintendo can just come out and say, clear up this whole Ganondorf, because the way it's looking, there's two Ganondorfs. One that was sealed up in the Prosperous Era by Rauru and the Sages, and then the one that we actually face and see in Ocarina of Time. Because while the one in Ocarina of Time is being dealt with, the one that's sealed up by Rauru and the Sages is still under the castle. Uh, but then again, was do they keep rebuilding the castle in other places then? Because that would imply that the castle that we see in Ocarina of Time has Ganondorf under it. But we know that the castle in Breath of the Wild is in a completely different location where it would have been in Ocarina of Time. This is what I mean. Nintendo, are you even thinking this stuff out? Probably not. They're trying to make a fun game. But you're messing with the people who really like the lore and trying to figure all this stuff out. Because again, Ocarina of Time is confirmed to have already happened. You see the ruins, uh, Market Town, Temple of Time, Lon Lon Ranch. You see all of that. You have the divine beasts. One of them is Naboris, who is named after Naboru. So the events of Ocarina of Time are once again confirmed to happen, because Naboru was a hero and basically a goddess to the Gerudo for standing against Ganondorf. So even Urbosa mentions about Naboru. Rudo, uh, I believe, is mentioned, or an ancient Zora princess, which we know it's Rudo. So Ocarina of Time does happen. Um, and this is just Ganondorf stuff. Then we have the whole new ancient heroes aspect armor with part Zonai, part Gerudo looking, and then the whole other can of worms with that. Ugh. I would love to get together with some freaking Zelda theorists and try to work this crap out. Zeltic, Hyrule Gamer, uh, people like that, just trying to figure this crap out. Um, trying to think of Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword, and then it's still apparently the first game in the timeline. And then we have the Prosperous Era, which apparently this game takes place, or not the game itself, but the past events. I'm gonna do my best Rauru right now. So it's established that the way it seems there's two Ganondorfs. I'm trying to think of how, like, what we know and how this is pretty much conflicting with what we know. Like I said, it seems like they're trying to rewrite everything, and these legends that we're playing as are possibly skewed or misinterpreted of what actually happened. So it's not saying that Ocarina of Time didn't happen. It's like, oh, well, you were told this happened, but this is what actually happened. Um, the hero we see in the tapestry, we got the red hair, the green skin, and again, it's Zonai. We know for a fact it's Zonai. It's wearing Zonai armor, but it also has bright red hair, green skin, like Ganondorf. Bright red hair is just seems to be inherited of Gerudo. The Gerudo women, no matter what skin color they are, whether it's dark brown, black, orangey, they all have red hair. So this hero is also part Gerudo, which means, again, like I said in the video about it, it's possible it's just a Gerudo woman meeting a uh Zonai, or it's possible that Ganondorf fancied a Zonai woman, because I mean, really, look at Minoru. It's pretty cute. Grab those ears, and out of lust or love, because I think we know Ganondorf is possibly capable of love in a sense of he respects strength. So if he met a Zonai woman that he thought was strong, I think even if she was strong-minded, he just appreciates and strength in general. And I said this the last time in the video I was talking about it. It's like Saiyans. Look at Bulma and Vegeta. Bulma is not physically strong, but she is strong-willed. She is smart. She can create all this stuff for Vegeta for his training. And while she's not physically strong, Vegeta admires her inner strength, her ability to, put him in his place. Now, Goku knows that Chi-Chi is, for a human, physically strong, but same like Bulma, she's strong-willed. She doesn't put up with Goku's crap, and those two are attracted to that because they're attracted to strong women. So it's possible Ganondorf met a strong Zonai, and out comes this hero who eventually goes on to stop his own father, in a sense, even though Calamity Ganon wasn't physically his father. But so we have the mystery of the. I feel like it's a Hardy Boys type thing. I think we need like freaking Sherlock Holmes or something, Batman. Get to the bottom of this case of the dueling, dueling as in duel two Ganondorfs. Uh, so we have the Ganondorf problem. We have the ancient heroes aspect problem. And we still know, again, we know that Skyward Sword is still the first game because we don't physically see her, but we see Fi in the game. We see the sword go blue. We hear the sound effect, specifically Fi's sound effect. We know she's there. So Skyward Sword has happened. This isn't like, in a world where Skyward Sword doesn't happen. No, it's happens. It's happened. The Master Sword was forged. Fi inherits the Master Sword, or not inherits, inhabits. So we know that. Um, it's so hard going through all this freaking Zelda lore and trying to remember what was said, what was shown. Um, and it's like the hero. We For the longest time, it's basically been implied that Link is the hero, and that's why every time it's Link. But then they say the spirit of the hero, which doesn't need to be Link. It can inhabit anyone who possesses the same traits as the original hero: courageous, courageous heart, um, selflessness, willing to put everyone else above yourself, doing what's right, um, fighting for what's good. Any race can have those virtues. So even if you're born like the Wind Waker Link, without the spirit of the hero, you can over time, through trials and tribulations, essentially earn that spirit, which can grant you Triforce of Courage, allows you to pull the Master Sword, because if you don't have the spirit of the hero, you can't pull that sword. Um, so you can gain it over time through showing these acts because a spirit, it doesn't have to be a physical thing. Not, oh, I've been possessed by the spirit. No, it's just like in the spirit of things, in the spirit of the hero, where you display those virtues of courageousness and all that. Um, but God, if only it was just a simple one timeline. But no, they have to split timeline the heroes, downfall, the child, the adult, and the events of the past, Ganondorf getting sealed, all the way into the future. And that makes it more common because it's like, what timeline is it? But we know there's two Ganondorfs because there has to be. There has to be two Ganondorfs because again, Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild takes place like 10,000 years after Ocarina of Time, and we know Ocarina of Time has happened. We know about Noboru. We know about Rudo. We know all that stuff happened. So there's two Ganondorfs. We have a hero who we don't know. We have the Zonai still that we really don't know much about. We know they descended to the land, appear to be gods. They brought their secret stones with them, which, if people know about them, they're not exactly secret now, are they? The stones are able to amplify a person's ability. So if you have time powers like Sonya or Zelda, it amplifies that. Um, if you take one of the stones, even if it doesn't belong to you, you can kind of possess it, like Ganondorf did after he killed Sonya. People seem to think that this is kind of like a new Triforce type thing, but while the stones are powerful, they're not divine. Now, while the Zonai might appear to be gods because they descended from the heavens, they're not actual gods. The Triforce was actually created by the goddesses when they departed the world. So they came, they created the world, and Hyrule is pretty much established where they left the world. Where they left the world is what we now know as Hyrule. Uh, it's the land of Hyrule, not the world of Hyrule. It's the land of Hyrule. People need to understand that it's not the world. That there are other lands out there. Um, and then it's like the Gerudo, so there's rumors and theories that Groose is kind of the ancestor of all Gerudo. But then in Skyward Sword, you have the Gerudo Dragonfly. So basically, Gerudo exists, at least the word Gerudo. Apparently, the Gerudo symbol existed at that timeline in that time as well. So people are saying, oh no, maybe just the word and the symbol existed, but then Bruce established, him and whoever he got it on with, uh, in the desert, and they established this culture of the Gerudo, since it was in the Gerudo Desert, and took that symbol and because Bruce, red hair, dark skin, uh, so I'd also love to see Groose in like a flashback of the establishment of the Gerudo women or of wherever they lived at that time. Um, we know that one of the sages is a Gerudo, and we know this takes place not too long after Skyward Sword, so possibly Groose is still alive in that time. Um, it's obvious Gerudos can live long. I mean, I think Twin Rover are Gerudo, but they are old, but they're also magic. They're witches. So naturally, they live longer. But I would assume that Groose would still be alive if this is shortly after. And that's that I'm talking about, and now that's a completely thing that I opened up. Is Groose still alive at that time? Because I would love to see Groose again. Groose word gourd. Um, huh. No, that's that. I don't think that would be possible because she goes back to her time. I was gonna say, wouldn't it be funny if Groose and young Impa got it on or something, which would give Quinrova, their magic abilities, because the Sheikah are pretty magic, being able to manipulate time and all that stuff. But we're talking about Groose, but I thought that was weird and funny though. Um, so let's see what else. I mean, the Ganondorf thing is probably the biggest thing because we have two Ganondorfs existing at the same time. That and also the dragons. We see Zelda and Ganondorf turn into a dragon. What about Farosh? What about Naedra? What about are those people who consume the stones, or are they actually legit dragons? Because they both take on the appearance of those dragons. Not like exact appearance, but the same style. You would think that if if they're becoming an eternal, well, they're all eternal dragons. So are those other people who consume the stone? Well, it's I think they say that there's stones. How many stones? Maybe there were more. Um, because it just seems weird that well, that we know we have dragons. We've had Volvagia, we've had Valu, we've had dragons before, but they were so what you would expect from traditional, like not traditional dragons. These are so divine looking. Uh, Same way Zelda and Ganondorf looked when they turned into dragons. So it's like, are those dragons actually people who consume secret stones? Were there more secret stones than what we saw? Because I would figure if they came from the Zonai, there would just be more than what, six, seven of them. That maybe all of the Zonai had them. Uh, so there's an interesting. I mean, are Naedra and all the other two dragons actually people who consume the stones? Um, so the Ganondorf two Ganondorfs, ancient hero, Bruce, if he's still technically alive in that era, and the dragons. So many things I would like to be answered. Will that actually happen? I don't know. I know the Groose one won't be answered. I mean, I like to think because it's short, not too long after uh, Skyward Sword that Groose seems to be what teens or whatever, so it's safe to say he might still be alive during those events. I just want to see him. I love Groose. He's such a good character. He starts out as a dickwad, but then becomes this hero. Um, but and then the dragons, because again, we know that there's certain amount of stones that we saw. Doesn't mean there couldn't have been more that maybe other people ate, and consumed and became the other dragons. I mean, I don't think it tells us that the dragons were created. We just kind of, we see them, we help. I believe Naedra we help. Um, there's so much lore, so much lore. So if the dragons have been established and that they are legit dragons, not people who consume the stones, let me know. Because I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to 50 million things running through my head right now. So yeah, I'm just before you're gonna slowly start to see my smoke coming out. That's how freaking hard I'm thinking about this, and I'm having 50 million things running through my head, and I'm trying to talk while I'm thinking about it. And so that's why you've got a lot of silence. Again, I gotta my best Rauru. So also technically that means there's two Raurus at the same time. We have the Rauru who's the Sage of Light, which is kind of weird. And since King Rauru was the king of light who had the power of light, the light to dispel evil, and Rauru, our Rauru, the fat, lovable Rauru, was also a sage of light. His owl, the owl we see, Gabora Gabora, we know is Rauru. Rauru in, watching us. So there's two Ganondorfs at the same time. Technically two Raurus at the same time, even though all that's left of Rauru is his arm. Huh. That kind of makes so that means all that stuff, like Minoru was existing at that time during Ocarina of Time. See, it's like you think of one thing and now all these other things start rushing in. Like the two Raurus, two Ganondorfs, Minoru existing at that same time. People have always wondered, about Fi in the Master Sword and Ocarina of Time. Yes, she was in the Master Sword. We wouldn't know who she was until Skyward Sword, which the game came out long after. But in a sense, yeah, she was in the Sword. Uh, so Fi was there, and it's like Impa. We know there's multiple Impas. Or rather descendants. They're like, hi, I'm Impa. That's my descendant Impa. You look on the wall, there's like 400 years worth, and they're all Impas. Anyway, just going through everything. And I'm sure there's going to be like details and some, like Minish Cap or Triforce Heroes, and something's like, oh, it's stated in this game. It's like, well, let me know. But let me also know your thoughts about this whole two Ganondorf thing, and if you like this idea of Nintendo possibly setting up for Zelda games in the future where you're not Link and you are some other race. Let me know about the dragons. Did they state that these, Naedra, Farosh, and all of them are actually legit dragons, or are they possibly consumers of the secret stones? Dinral, Farosh, Naedra. There's only 3 dragons, yeah? Yeah, I think there's only 3 dragons. And of course, Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom. But she hadn't become the dragon yet, because she had to go back in time first to become the dragon. So she didn't exist yet in Breath of the Wild, obviously, because she's there. And we see her at the end. She's physically there. She's in the castle. But yeah, the dragon thing, and any other weird plot hole, convoluted theory you can think of. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. For now. Uh yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye guys.